Hey everybody, Brian Hill with the Complete Combatant, and we're here to talk about some pistol work for the Complete Combatant. As the armed citizen, we have different needs sometimes, and we need to really think about it in the context or the entirety. I'll always be grateful to John Correa of Active Self-Protection for his cataloging, analyzing, and having a database of what it looks like when the armed citizen gets in a fight. And some things are different than we thought they were. Remember, our role is very different than it is in law enforcement, who use pistols frequently, and in the military, who never use pistols or use it very infrequently. We're going to carry a pistol. It's our main line of defense, and there may be different stages relative to distance or time needs of what we need to do to get that pistol out. So I teach people to be incredibly efficient in their draw and be able to get a nice draw so that it has a deep well of skill, and they're able to work through anything that might happen. But sometimes there's either a fragmented draw that's necessary or we need to draw to off target. And I think this probably happens more than we'll ever be able to codify in data, because it probably goes underreported or unreported altogether. But let's talk about those positions, okay? The first one is just hand on the gun. All right, now I'm going to get this out so you guys can see that it is clear and empty. I got a tap rack train in there so it can't hold any ammo. Lock slide to the rear, magazine's out, run it 3 times, it's good. I'm on the range. Even if I point the gun at you, everybody is safe. Fantastic. All right, so if somebody was at a distance, maybe threatening, or I had the time, I might go to here, okay? I would have to imagine that this happens frequently, all right? And it is a communication of that I am ready to go to the next level, that I am ready for the fight, okay? I get a lot of grief on the internet because my arms don't relax and they tend to move all the time. But I gotta tell you, if you fight and you see a threat coming, you're not gonna stand with your arms at your side and just go, oh, okay, it's a fair start, and I keep my hands down here. You're going to be ready. And I'm gonna be talking with my frames up. So I might just go to here in this position, and that may be the end of it. And at that point, they may think better of it and move on. But it's relative to distance and time, all right? And I would want somebody outside the 20-foot area if I'm going to threaten like that, because it would give me enough time to complete the draw, at least 20 feet or so. So they're outside social space. I don't know what the context might be, but I might have an enraged armed person coming towards me, and this may be my communication backwards to them. All right. So sometimes you just need to practice this. The good news is this: start from your hands up, bang. You're practicing a good third of your draw, boom, and practicing your stab. So you'll get better at it. Okay. But don't always draw the gun. Sometimes just boom, stop right here, get a good grip on the gun, you're good to go. Next one would be ready positions, drawing from ready positions. Now, there are a lot of ready positions in the world. Some of them are good and some of them aren't, but they're all contextually relative, all right? And that's what matters. One can't be better than the other because in some contexts it is dangerous and irresponsible. So let's think about that. If I draw always to a low ready and I have small children running around, is that a good idea? No, it's not. If there were small people or people running past me, that may not be the place to be. So the low ready can be what? The position of least consequences. John Correa uses that, so that's a great way to think about it. What's the least consequences? Now, if I'm in my house and I'm on the bottom floor, low ready is a great position. But if I'm on the top floor, it's not such a great position. But what I want to do is practice drawing low and off the target. Okay, so I draw to here. My eyes stay on the target, and then when I need to, I can bring the gun out. But we want to practice drawing off the target occasionally. There we go. So that would be drawing to a low ready. All right, if low ready is not suitable, I'm going to draw to a high ready. All right, and that means that muzzle will be moving through the area. Big thing I want to do is, if I'm low ready or high ready, I want to keep my finger off the trigger. Okay, we're going to check that and make sure I'm not doing trigger verification as I draw. But say I go to a high ready, same position, boom. Okay, now my gun's in a high position, it's canted up, it's in the line of my vision, and this is where my high ready would be. I'd be under good control. Now, really good if I was on the top floor, really bad if I'm on the bottom floor. All right, little kids running around, really good. Tall adults next to me, I might be muzzling their head. So we got to think about the position relative to the context. But I'm going to practice both because I may need both at any time. So from this position, I'm going up here. So you can see the trigger finger slightly bent and off in high register, and I've got good control. And then if I need to drive to the target, bang, there it is. So I practice from this position frequently, getting it up in my eye line, bang, draw it right out. Good news is if you got a dot, makes the dot easier to work. You see it every time when you draw out and practice. Remember, we're practicing a stopping position, which is really hard for people to stop here and then make sure that their finger stays off the trigger. So let's look at the trigger finger. Let's see how it's working, all right? No problem to the fragmentary draw here, all right? Can't really get it on the trigger. All right, next one be to the low ready, okay? And you can see my finger's out of the way. And then when I need to move it up, my finger goes to the trigger and then comes back down. And then the final position is the high ready, okay? Fingers high, and off we go. And good thing for you guys is I have a really long index finger so you can see it, okay? So those are your draw positions, either hand on the gun, to a low ready, and to a high ready. Now I probably left a couple out that you like, all right? Number one is Sul. You're not gonna get a guy that's involved in combatives, jiu-jitsu, integrated weapons work to be a big fan of Sul. It is an undefensible position. And if you look at the history and development of Sul, it was developed very specifically for a purpose that doesn't affect us. All right, it's not a purpose that we need. So I'm not a big fan of it. And what happens is I see this kind of quarter Sul now, where the gun is kind of forward and tilted off to the side. I want you to have good control of it. Okay, the other one is the temple index. There are places for that in the world, I guess, all right? But we're just talking about drawing to a position where we're working, okay? And I just don't spend a lot of time on that. I know how to do it, and I use it occasionally for very specific things, but mostly it's a low or a high ready for me, all right? And if you do a lot of draw work and you're always drawing to completely straight out, then that becomes a habit and you're prepping the trigger. What you want to do is draw and be able to stop in different positions, which give us the ability to modulate our response until we need to use force. And what are we looking for to use force? We're looking for the pre-assault indicators. We're looking for weapons in their hands. We're looking for behavior or threats. And then we know that we have to use force, and it's got to be a lethal threat. If you're going to use a pistol, you need to make sure that it's a lethal threat to you, not that you're just afraid of the other person. Cool? Hope that helps you guys. All right? Work on your readies. So hand on the gun, low ready, high ready. Keep it simple. Here's the truth of the matter. None of us get enough time to practice, do we? So let's not make it a multitude of ways. But a low and a high will serve you pretty well for the rest of your life. Understand the contexts where you may use them. Practice that occasionally. All you have to do is imagine that, and you'll be pretty proficient at it and be pretty good. And it'll give you some modulation in your things towards force. If all you imagine is drawing your gun and shooting, then if your context changes, you're going to have a hard time putting the brakes on it. All right, because that's what you've trained yourself to do. So it's not that the training is bad. It's not that learning to draw is bad. It's the training without contextual relativity. We've got to think about when and where, and then we got to practice the other parts of it so it feels very comfortable for us. Now, there are fighting positions like retention, compression, but those are fighting positions. They are not ready. This is not a ready. This is a shooting position. This is a shooting position. So they just don't come into our context at all. Okay? All right, guys. You can find us at thecompletecombatant.com. All our social media is there. We have a good presence on Facebook, Instagram, even Twitter now, I think. And I'm on Instagram as the Chief Chaos Controller. We also have the Complete Combatant on Instagram, so we'll post things there. Please check us out, comment, and help us along. And more importantly, come to class. Learn how to do these things because we're going to spend time on them in class. All right, Brian Hill with the Complete Combatant, and as always, measure, refine, and perform.